To install the new parts offered in the repair kit, start from the base up. The first new part that we can install is the seat. To install the new clapper diaphragm onto the D-2 accelerator, first we will need to install the U-cup retainer and the U-cup into the clapper diaphragm. To install the U-cup and U-cup retainer into the clapper diaphragm, first you will need to apply to both the U-cup and U-cup retainer the lithium grease that is provided in the repair kit. You will want to spread the lithium grease evenly around both the U-cup and the U-cup retainer. Once the lithium grease is applied, you can now install the U-cup and U-cup retainer into the clapper diaphragm. At this point, we can install the new clapper diaphragm into the seat of the accelerator. Do this by lining up the hole of the clapper diaphragm with the locating pin on the base of the accelerator. Now we can install the new anti-flood kit onto the housing of the accelerator. When installing it, make sure that the Viking logo is in the upright position. Before installing the housing back onto the base of the accelerator, you will want to install the new screen filter into the housing. At this point, we can now install the housing onto the base. To install the housing onto the base, line up the hole in the housing with the locating pin on the base. At this point, we will need to turn the accelerator over to reinstall the screws to connect the base to the housing. Install the housing spring into the housing. Before installing the housing insert back into the housing, you will first need to install the new U-cup and U-cup retainer into the housing insert. To install the new U-cup and U-cup retainer into the housing insert, you will first need to apply the lithium grease evenly to both the U-cup and U-cup retainer. At this point, you can now install the new U-cup and U-cup retainer into the housing insert. Install the new housing insert into the housing, making sure that the housing spring is lined up in the center of the housing insert. The next parts that we can install are the actuator rod spring, the retaining ring, and the actuator rod. As you will notice, the retaining ring comes on the actuator rod when you order the kit together. If by some chance you needed to install the retaining ring onto the actuator rod, an easy way to do this would be to hold the retaining ring on a flat surface and depress the groove of the actuator rod down into the retaining ring. Install the actuator rod spring onto the actuator rod. We can now install the actuator rod into the housing insert on the accelerator. At this point, we can now install the cover diaphragm assembly back onto the cover. Please note that the cover diaphragm assembly is offered individually only. It is not part of the repair kit. When placing the cover back onto the housing, you will want to make sure that the center of the cover diaphragm assembly is lined up with the actuator rod. At this point, you can place it back on the accelerator and line up the holes. Install each of the new screws.
Okay.
This concludes our repair parts demonstration for the Viking Model D2 Accelerator.